Becoming a millionaire, there's a lot more to it than just money in the bank. Find out what it is right now on this episode of the Unlock Success Podcast.
This is the Unlock Success Podcast. We're helping entrepreneurs around the world dive deep into the keys you need to shatter excuses, believe in yourself, and help you achieve your highest goals. Here's your host, 8-figure entrepreneur and the living legend of internet marketing, Anthony Morrison.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Unlock Success Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Morrison, and super excited to have you join me here to talk about all things entrepreneurial, all things to help you really kind of shift your mindset so that you're in the right frame of mind to have the success that you want, you desire, and ultimately you and I both know that you deserve. I put the podcast together really just as an outlet, a way for me to talk about subjects and topics and things that really I don't get to talk about on a regular basis with my internet marketing business, right? So if you're a part of my my community, you know, we usually stick to the X's and the O's and the techie stuff when it comes to building an online business. But with the Unlock Success Podcast, my goal is to really kind of touch on subjects and topics and things that can help you be a more well-rounded entrepreneur, have the right mindset to make the good decisions, to have the success that you want. So on this episode, what we're going to talk about is, you know, it's what I wish I knew when I became a millionaire. So obviously it's what I wish I knew prior to being a millionaire, so that when I got to that status, I would already know these things, right? And you know, a lot of times, and I kind of bounced around a few times on this. I was actually talking to someone on my team right before we went live with this, and saying, you know, I think this and I think that, and I feel this way and I feel that way, and ultimately, you know, I think for everybody, it's probably something different. I know that no one prepared me for the weight that's put on your shoulders when you make a lot of money, and I think especially when you're new, when it's new money, right? When you make your first million, I think you feel even a bigger weight on your shoulders than the billionaires and 100 millionaires and such in our society, right? And it's because you've reached this status, right, where you've made $1 million, and inevitably there's going to be people in your life that obviously haven't reached that status, right, and haven't made that $1 million, and it's this internal struggle of trying to live your new life, right, your new lifestyle, and also trying to bring along your friends, bring along your community, right? Look, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you, okay? And I firmly believe this, that you know, they say, look, you're just a person. It doesn't matter how much money you make. That's bullshit. It's not even true. Because at the end of the day, when you make a lot of money, you're a different person. You live a different life, right? You have opportunity to do things that you didn't have before. If you're broke, okay, you don't have the opportunity to fly on private airplanes. If you're broke, you don't have the opportunity to travel all over the world on a whim, right? If you're making great money, right, but you have this 9-to-5 job, right, and you're making good money, but you're, you know, maybe making $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 a year, but you're not making millions of dollars, right? You're still living a different lifestyle. And I think that when you reach that millionaire status, nobody prepares you for the dichotomy that you're going to face when you start looking at, hey, I want to go do these things in my life now. I've got the money and the means to do it, but I want to bring everybody along with me, and you just can't do that. You know, you see this a lot in pro athletes, right? They call them their entourage, and it's that the athletes made a ton of money, and all of a sudden they're living a different lifestyle, going to different places. Their friends inevitably cannot afford that type of lifestyle, and so they spend all their money bringing their friends along with them. And I think that's something that maybe we're not prepared for. I certainly wasn't. Nobody even told me that. You know, I always thought about entourages as just things that, you know, again, pro athletes or movie stars have, right? I didn't realize it was really the money that created that, right? So that's one thing that you have to kind of look out for when you become a millionaire, is learning how and understanding how to still live your life, but not try to have not put the weight of the world on your shoulders to bring everybody else along with you, right? People always told me, and even when I was growing up, I always heard, money can't buy happiness. And I used to always think about that. I'm like, well, man, if I had this thing or if I had that thing, I'd be a whole lot happier, You used to always question this. And I think one of my friends put it, it's a quote from his dad. He said, money can't buy happiness, but it can put down a really good down payment on it, right? And I think that's true. I think there's a lot of truth to that, in that you're not always going to be the happiest person in the world just because you got $1 million in the bank, right? But there are a lot of things that you can do with $1 million, right, that can bring you happiness. And it's like trying to look at that and see that in two different lights. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, well, make good money right now. I don't know if I really need to make any more. I'm not 100% sure it would make me a happier person. I would say that maybe it won't make you necessarily happy every day, all the time. You can never be sad because you have money. No, but you're crazy if you don't think that it can bring some level of happiness to your life that you currently do not have. If things like traveling make you happy, well, then making more money is going to allow you to travel more. Therefore, you're going to be happier. If financial security, just being secure, knowing that you've got enough money, got a long enough financial savings and runway that you don't have to worry about money, if that makes you a happy person, well, then you're crazy to think that if you didn't have $1 million sitting in the bank, you wouldn't be a happier person, right? So I do believe that in some ways, money can bring happiness, right? Like I said, maybe not eternal happiness, maybe not happiness every moment of every day, but it certainly can buy you some things and some opportunities that are going to make you a happy person, right, in those moments. And I think another thing that that I wish that I knew, and I wish I knew that too, right? Because I had always been told, do what you love. And you hear people all the time tell you to follow your passion, be passionate about it and go do it, right? And you'll be happy. Well, I mean, to a degree. I also see a lot of people that take their passion, turn it into a business, and then end up hating their passion, right? So if I had just from day one looked at, hey, what can help me succeed financially? What's going to help me make the most money? What's going to help me, do this? I think I probably would have never gone the path that I went prior to doing what I'm doing now. And I also think that being a millionaire, one of the things that I truly wish that I had known, and this would go all the way back to when I was in my early 20s, is how to invest, right? How to invest your money. A lot of times we don't get that knowledge until we get that status, right? And this is where you see, again, I hate to just bang on pro athletes, but how many pro athletes do you see go broke, right? And it's because they've made all this money. Nobody ever taught them anything about saving or investing or anything. And they just came into all this money and they quickly go deploy it on stuff that's not really necessary, right? And then they wake up and they're broke one day. And I wish that I'd had some kind of financial investing training advice prior to making money, because I didn't really start investing my money for it was probably a good maybe 7 years after I made my first $1 million before I really invested in anything, right? And now, as 38 years old, about to be 39, I look back and I think, man, I made my first $1 million. I think I was probably 24, 23. That's such a long time ago. It was 15, years ago. In many cases, a piece of property, a piece of income property, real estate, you finance over 20 years. So I could almost have anything that I bought year one would almost, at this point, I'm still so young, would be paid for, right? And then just be cash flow for me. I didn't really start doing that until probably 7 or 8 years in, because I had to educate myself. I had to educate myself on what investing really was, what was smart investing, what traps to avoid, all types of things. It was very slow and methodical. So I think that if I'm looking at it from the perspective of maybe someone who hasn't made $1 million, but you want to prepare for the day that you reach that millionaire status, I would say start teaching yourself investing. Start learning. Even if you don't have any money to invest right now, learn how to invest so that the minute you make that money, instead of dumping it into your entourage, right? You can bring that money and invest it into things that are going to secure you for your future. And then, of course, don't buy into the myth that money can't buy happiness, because I don't believe that it's true. And I don't think that if you find any single person that's got a lot of money, that's made $1 million, that they're going to tell you that something about that $1 million hasn't brought happiness to their lives, right? So these are the things I wish I knew. I felt like it'd be fun to share this on the podcast because, it's rare that you get to look back and see, and especially for somebody that's done this for so long, just kind of look back over the last decade and a half and say, man, what are some things I wish I knew? What are some things if I had known then would make me, better now, right? Or more successful now, or more financially, secure now. And these are some of those things. So hopefully you've learned a little bit from this, and it's kind of sparked some interest in your mind to get the juices flowing, get things going. And of course, always be educating yourself, right? So learn about money, learn about investing, and prepare yourself for the day that you become a millionaire. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to having you join me next week on another episode of the Unlock Success Podcast.